Remember when I said I'd post again in a couple of weeks? Yeah, that was 5 months ago. But to be fair, time is just a suggestion when you're restoring an abandoned Victorian home in the middle of winter. So here we are. It's summer-ish. The emotional ice has melted, mostly. And here's how I tackle crown molding for the very first time in the middle of a dark winter, because I clearly hate myself. This episode includes one first-timer with a saw, 2 ways to miter cut, about 17 wrong angles, and a return of your favorite Victorian lady, who is, like me, holding it together with caulk, paint, and pure delusion. So let's catch up. Let's cut some stuff and maybe cry just a little bit. I thought I'd look at the bones of this original trim and get some measurements and ratios. Looks like I finally got the dimensions right. It's not the right pieces or size of pieces, but okay, back up, buddy. So this is so the proportions are right for length, but the rest of the pieces will be this size. But I just wanted to make sure I got the ratio things to look the same. But there you go. Yay! It's one of those days where I wake up and I'm exhausted, and I decided to try to come work on the house anyway. One day you feel great, the next day you feel like crap. So I'm going to try and do a few things and see how it goes. Wish me luck. So yesterday I cut this sample with scrap wood just to make sure I was getting the measurements right, and we took it outside and it looks pretty good. Yahoo! Today I'm going to do it with the real actual materials. There's a lot of trim here. I'm going to be on trim duty for a couple years, I think. I've never actually made trim before. I just dove right into this project like it'll be fine. I just knew exactly what I wanted, so I wanted to make sure it was done right, so I did it myself. This probably wasn't the best day to get started on this project. This way, bud. Good morning. You cleaning up for me?
Excuse me?
You cleaning up for me?
Yep. You know, we've always been one of those contractors that kept a neat workspace.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Tidiness is next to godliness. What's
And it's
cleanliness?
right next to good work, too.
Well, thank you, Jim. He's preparing so I can start doing this exterior, lovely, fancy trim. The first thing I needed to do was learn how to cut miters.
Take your crown molding and the wall, decorative edge against the wall, okay? And least decorative edge up against the ceiling. So it's resting.
Least decorative?
What you have to remember is this reference line, it is only a reminder for us which direction.
All right, let's regroup.
You gotta flip it and bring it over.
Okay, I'm gonna do it, Jane. This is not right. Guess I'll try again. Jane says to draw a line on your trim in the direction you want it to be angled. Take it over to the miter saw and set it down face up. And then you move the angle of the saw blade to line up with the line you made on your piece of trim. I'm cutting this one on a 45-degree angle. You take your piece and you flip it over, upside down, and then make your cut. For this method, always make sure you have it leaned up against the saw fence. That's where I went wrong. I could have carried on using Jane's flip-over method, but I wasn't doing a very good job holding the trim piece on the angle up against the saw fence very well. I could have made a jig, but instead I learned more about how you can cut different ways. We'll talk more about this topic later. So I'm looking at my color palette with the trim, and I'm trying to decide if I should paint the pieces before I put them together or after. I did go with quite a complicated paint scheme. Dark green and a red and a dark green and a basil. We decided to try to put them together first. We're using this PVC cement. It kind of melts the PVC surface, so when you stick it together, they dry melted together, so it's very, very solid glue. You can't use this PVC glue on any painted surfaces. It won't bond. So we gave pre-assembly a try. It was just too hard to paint them once they were assembled. This took me 3 days and 3 coats of paint just for this one little piece. So now back to that second method of cutting compound miters on molding. It's pretty neat, and it corresponds with markings already on your miter saw.
Here and here.
I always wondered what these little numbers were here for. And they correspond with this miter cutting table too. Ooh, I love a good table. These numbers are preset guides to help you cut compound miters for the 3 most common spring angles in molding. Although molding comes in many shapes and sizes, there really are only 3 common spring angles out there: 38 degrees, 45 degrees, and 52 degrees. So yeah, probably should have known about this spring angle before I started. Anywho, so what I was supposed to have done was gone and taken a look at the windows and decided what angle I wanted the trim to be, and then measured the size of the trim, the back and the top, decided what measurements would accommodate that trim angle, and then taken that all to the hardware store and ordered the stuff I needed. But what I did instead is I took the old trim to the guy and said, I want it to look like this. And he said, okay. So he took measurements of that stuff, and then he couldn't find the right molding for it, one that looked like the old molding. So we looked at some others, and I just pointed at one and said, well, I like that one. That one looks good. Let's give that one a go. And so we just ordered it, and I didn't really know there were these spring angles, and I didn't know that there were different ways you could do it. So I just got what I got. And then I started putting it together and learned all these things about angles. And what I didn't know was I was making a problem for myself by not sliding the trim all the way flush with the back and the top piece. It made it difficult to put the side piece, the return piece, on, as I'd messed up the cutting angles. But I think it looks great even with the extra trouble. Just don't take a really good close look at it. So how do you know what size spring angle trim you want? Well, you can basically do whatever you want, but here are some guidelines I found.
For standard height walls about 8 feet tall, it's recommended to use 38-degree spring angle molding. If your ceilings are 10 feet or higher, then 45 degrees works well. And if you have really tall ceilings, or you want a really prominent look for your molding, you can just flip the 38-degree molding over to have a 52-degree molding.
If you want to make compound miter cuts on your molding, and you don't want to have to hold it up against a saw fence or make a jig for it. You can cut it flat, and you can still get the same angle cuts. So to start with, you look at your piece of molding and just place it down there as if you're looking right at it. And I know that I want this angle, not the angle the saw is at, to be this way, because that's what it looks like when you look at it. I look at this table, and I want 90 degrees. We have 38-degree spring angle, remember? So my miter adjustment is 31.6. So I move my miter over to 31.6. And there's a little mark right here with a number, a little shape next to it. The bevel adjustment should be to 33.9. Okay, now we can go this way. I mean, these shapes match up. This is just awesome. The other ones are for 45-degree spring angle trim. Their shapes match too.
Run a few miles down a desert road. Stare too long at a cheap rose. It's fixing something that's been broken. Go get lost in a little town. Get dressed up and just drive around. Get both feet on some solid ground. I'm gonna fill this bucket up to the top. Fill this bucket up. I'm gonna fill this bucket up to the top. Fill this bucket up.
So we had a long, cold winter here in upstate New York. And I spent a lot of time alone painting and painting and painting. Whew. Nope. Of course, his case is against him. I'd rather be buying appliances and picking out wood floors. This freaking lawsuit's taking forever.
Don't mind me. Just losing the will to live between the shop vac and you two's poor life choices.
Atticus has been sleeping on my lap for 6 days now, trying to heal up his big wound from his surgery. Buddy. He had a kneecap that kept dislocating, so we finally got the surgery for him and fixed him up. He's doing better.
Gotta hold it down, huh? Good.
Pushing the molding piece down and making it a weird angle really only resulted in this return piece not being parallel to the edge of the top trim. It also would stick out the back if I cut the piece too wide. It was pretty finicky. I mean, I knew it was wonky when I was doing it, but I didn't really know what I was doing, so I figured that maybe it was normal, or how you did it. I don't know. I figured it out. I like how it looks, and when it comes time to do the interior molding, I am set. It doesn't look much different than if I'd done it the right way, but it would have been a lot easier to do. Isn't it pretty? I love it. Whoop! Oh God, that's all we need right now. The two windows on the side of this bay window didn't have enough room for my big large trim, so I had to shorten it a bit. These are the only two windows that are like that, so. The top window trim pieces will go in after we've cleaned and painted the dormers, so there'll be a big reveal at that time. In the middle of all this, we decided to build a little kitty box for the stray kitties around our apartment. It was so cold this winter.
I could sit around and wait all day. You lay easy on my mind. Like a candle, I just burn away. All we really have is time. All we really have is time. I don't wanna waste it on anybody. Take it with anybody but you.
I don't think I would have made it through this winter without this guy.
And your new Transformer robot.
I mean, look at him. How can you not laugh? Go get him, Atticus! Go get him! And we're finally working on the porch. I can't wait to see what this is gonna look like. Aww. What's that? Aww.
What was it they used to say? Seeking you to find.